welcome back. We are here to discuss this Battle Hardened finals here in Milwaukee. We're gonna watch this game. My boy Evan made the finals. Huge shout out to Evan. Really excited to watch this match. I think as somebody that plays a lot of Wizards specifically, always seeing like a Lexi Iyslander match is usually pretty entertaining, right? Like if we watch the old Majin matches and stuff like that of like him playing Iyslander versus these top name Lexi players, the games are a lot closer than it would initially seem unless Lexi gets off to a really great start, right? So these are always the most interesting ones I see, but we've obviously seen a lot of Iyslander versus Lexi this meta, last meta, almost the one before that. Since PT3 we've seen Iyslander versus Lexi for the majority of the time, and it's really interesting to see that this matchup has evolved and has gone through multiple bannings and multiple metas and still been a prominent in the meta, right? So if we get through here, coming through, it is also quite interesting that this is a 7th versus 8th place matchup. It's always really funny to see that when you don't get the side selection for the entire top 8 and you still somehow get the matches out of it. I know that this Iyslander player Richard actually beat Brody in the quarterfinals, which was pretty interesting because Brody was playing Azalea, and usually Azalea is probably one of Iyslander's worst matchups in the game, just because you can't really do anything against their whole dominate game plan and whole extra stuff like that. So it is pretty surprising that he got there, but usually if you get through a lot of tax effects as Iyslander, which is one of your main game plans, and you really get going as Iyslander, you can obviously pull out pretty much any matchup in the game at this point. Going into this weekend, I was thinking about if I was at Milwaukee, what I would be playing. I definitely think Iyslander would be one of my top picks currently, just because but I think you have to be really wary of the mechanologists that are coming out and just see how you can play against them, right? I still think your draw my matchup is pretty even to honestly Iyslander favor at this point if they're playing more of a redline build, because you can just tax them into oblivion most of the time. But the mechanologists are pretty interesting because there's 4 mechanologists now, and they all play a little bit differently, right? I think OG Dash has to be the hardest one out of all of them, because there's just so many different game styles that you have to prepare for, or they could be in before you start the game, right? Versus Max, is going to be an aggro deck. Dash IO, is going to be this weird mid-range game that's going to play items out of nowhere and stuff like that. And then Teklevozen is just one of the best matchups for Iyslander in the game, because that deck cannot afford to play EB basically. So it's pretty interesting. Iyslander traditionally had a bad time against these mechanologists, but it seems I keep seeing at least 1 or 2 in these top 8s from this weekend, and I think that's a good place to see of where Iyslander is still holding her own. And it is pretty interesting because Iyslander is not super going to get banned yet. She would need to win this Battle Hardened or the calling, or a major event kind of, and have a good ProQuest season, because I think she needs to win 36% of ProQuest, I think was a statistic somebody threw out, and that's a lot of ProQuest, especially because when half of them are that's 36% of already the half of CC and limited, which is just a lot, right? Now we look into this game, and we're looking at Trench, Northern Gloves, Perch Grapplers for Evan. Usually the Perch Grapplers is not the most, it really isn't that common, especially versus Iyslander specifically. Most of the time when I think of Perch Grapplers, I think about playing, I think about it versus Bravo, I think about it versus Katsu or something like that, where you need to be able to block for one time. But versus Iyslander, obviously you get to know the deck list beforehand because everybody's on camera, right? So you're if they're going to be playing Bolander, the more arcane version, and obviously I think we know that he they're going to be that way. Looks like Evan has a full red hand here, so he has like, you know, Remorseless there. Discards the Endless Arrow, which usually the Endless Arrow is like, doesn't have the most effect versus Iyslander, but does have a decent amount of like utility because it's a bounce back and get the additional resources randomly, and just always have an arrow to like load and fire every turn. And it does get pretty annoying for Iyslander if they're just like looping you with the same endless arrow and then you're just using everything else to like AB, especially because Evan is playing like AB2 here, right? So like every double blue hand, Evan can really use the Norrund and everything like that. Falcon Wing here. He's gonna Blizzard it, but he does have 2 floating, so he's just gonna pay for it and take the Frostbite, right? So it's like if Evan has a yellow hero, like a yellow or blue here, it looks like he's 3 of a kind in his hand, which is just, that's gonna be an absolute, that looks like it's gonna be an absolute blowout. Like he can, like with this Frostbite, he can just like, he can either play that 3 of the kind, or he can just pass, like basically pass his turn with the 3 of a kind in Arsenal, and then next turn just go off, basically, you know? So we'll see what he does here. Richard, thinking about the sink below, does cover all of this Falcon Wing up. He is gonna, looks like he is gonna play. Yeah, he is gonna play this 3 of a kind here. Goes 1 floating, taking out that Frostbite. Let's see. I think the best case would be is like hit Bolt and Shot, and then, you know, if Richard lets it hit, then you can fire another one. It does look he has the Bolt and Shot, so this is the first one. So coming in for 4 here. This is like one of the ones where it's like so, it's so hard sometimes as Iyslander playing against this, because like he doesn't want to double block this, but like you're kind of almost priced into, because like you just can't let them get additional value off of this 3 of a kind turn. Oh, does have the quiver here and hits the arrow. Oh my god, we're doing it right. Hits the 3rd blue of this chain versus Iyslander. It's coming for 4, which could be a 5 as well. Like, that's so good. Yeah, Iyslander all the way down to 31. Like triple blocking and through a Blizzard. Oh man. and I believe a 3 of a kind did go into Evan's arsenal as well, so like it's not only that we're gonna look at like this really good setup, we're looking at like a more insane setup here. And I know Iyslander just put an attack in their arsenal here, if you could, like, I believe seeing through that, so there's like no disruption. Yeah. Oh, he drew the Rain Razors to play in response to 3 of a kind. Okay, we might be looking at like, we might looking at one. Evan's cooking today, bro. Evan's really cooking. Yeah, there's, you know, there's no response here from Iyslander as well. Like, does hit a blue, the blue Winter's Bite to be able to load a lot of these here. Just look like he has a little bit of a Heat Seeker here to bring it through. Yeah, 7 go again. I get like face up in my arsenal next turn if it hits. That's really good. Usually trying to play this matchup, like Iyslander like randomly has to take a decent amount of damage to, you know, come back through and like really pressure the Lexi to like get her to not do her main game plan and do like to get her to play like Iyslander's game a little bit and like have Iyslander get like a decent amount of value. And if you're not able to do that, sometimes the Iyslander just gets like into this like I'm full blocking for the rest of the game and it sucks, right? Is it red? Bolson shot 4, should we go to 5 and go to 7? Okay, yeah, they're fixing it. Yeah, but oh man, and he has a 7. He would have to give up his helmet, to like block this out here. Is this gonna take 7 here? Yeah, take 7 to 24. Oh. Yeah, this is just like, these turn cycles have just been so good for Evan here, and then it's just been like actually insane. And has the hamstring shot to make it so even if his opponent was like, hey, I want to play this attack from my arsenal, like I have to pitch double cards or I have to use my tunic resource to do that, it takes another 7. So just gets to take 14 on this turn. just goes to 17, like 2 turns in, basically. Yeah, like this is a pretty good. I've seen a lot of Icelanders be able to claw out of this, but this is a rough one, right? Like this is the one, like you don't want to see, yeah, you don't want to see this when you're playing Iyslander at the very beginning, especially because like, oh, I don't know what that was, but I love you. Yeah, I love you, Ethan, but like, what? I'm trying to review this, bro. But we're looking at Fyendals gets to gain that life and then come in for 7. Like, I'd be pretty surprised if Evan doesn't just take all of it here and just play his 4-card hand, because he has such like a life total lead at this point as well. That's just like, there's not much. Like, Iyslander needs to have multiple good disruption turns in a row. Lexi needs to draw like a quad red for a couple turns to get disrupted. Like there needs to be something that happens to like really like move this game back into the other direction, right? So, and we're looking at another Bolton shot. Like something that I've like seen from a lot of Lexi recently is that there's people that are playing like 9 Bolton shot, and there's people that are like not playing the yellows, right? And it's always intrigued me because I thought Bolton shot would just be like one of the best arrows like for Lexi entirely. And then I was playing a couple games of Lexi, and then sometimes I definitely do feel like how like yellow Bolton shot really doesn't have an on-hit effect, or like sometimes if you're trying to play like 3-card hands, it's not like the most like, doesn't have like the on-hit that like really is pressuring there. But like as we just saw, like on that 3 of a kind turn, on, you know, most of the time in the quiver turn, like where he activated quiver, then like because the Bolton shot had go again, and like all these other things, like yeah, Bolton shot just have so much utility that I don't know if I can like not play Lexi without the Bolton shot these days, right? Like the arrow is so good, the on hit just like randomly matters, because like even here, like he could just he could like reload an arrow like Lexi, then activate Voltaire, and then shoot like 2 more arrows this turn, where like usually you're only able to like shoot 2 arrows with the Voltaire, but getting like a 3rd one on just a random 4-card hand without no arsenal is just like insane, right? Like obviously the Cold Snap is just going to give him the Frostbite here, and we're probably looking at like a Waning Moon for 3 as well, just to be able to, you know, try to get some damage through, like try to disrupt him at any point here. But like this is also a 5 break point, right? Like the sink below doesn't even like hit this. Like, yeah, this is just a bad spot for Richard here. He's gonna take 5. He's gonna take the reload here. He's gonna break the chain because he needs to flip it with Lexi. Oh, and he gets to play the Codex of Frailty too. So this already was gonna be good, like already was going to be a really good turn, and then this is just like, this is going to be also insane. Yeah, just you always take 3 here, you just not even close. Like there's no reason not to. He has the Falcon Wing in his arsenal too, so he can go 3, go again, shoot the infecting shot, have that ponder. Like yeah, basically if you could draw up like the Lexi hands to have like the dream start versus Iyslander here, like this would probably be like almost up there on the list, right? Like the frailty matters like not as much, but like it is pretty good. He only does have that 1 attack, I believe, so he does have 2 attacks in his hand, so you can discard an attack to put it in the arsenal, so it's like not as bad. But you still have to block. Like this infecting shot still like represents 7 damage basically, like the 5 plus the blood rot rate. So, and he gets the ponder token for the next turn, so you know he's gonna have like probably a 5-card hand, maybe even less. I do like that Richard is playing like the more like Iyslander list. I do think Iyslander, like with Scar for Scar, is just the best Iyslander list, and like people should be playing that moving forward. That list is just like, it allows you to punish so well, just to do everything like you want it to do. Like it's just so good, right? Like I don't know, like Scar for Scar, like all these Fyendals, these Iylanders, like they're just like so hyper efficient that like it's very nice to see that like these generic like big attack cards that like you wouldn't think about like initially when you look at the game are just one of are just one of like the best cards in like formats or like metagames with a character, right? Like it always makes me like kind of appreciate like it does make me appreciate like, oh, like LSS design, and like see if they thought about that or it was all intentional or not. Like of that, we did build Iyslander in a way towards like, hey, we're just going to play the most hyper efficient attacks, have like really cool like end game, and you know, that's basically it, you know. So looking at that, Richard did decide to keep 2 cards in his hand so he can play out this arsenal and then keep something as well. He did sink something. I don't know what he did sink, but it does have that frailty token. So he's only going to come in for 6 here. Looks like he has Meredith Scolding and another card, so... But did have to take a lot of damage. Like, to be able to, like, even play this or, like, keep into the game, like, he basically has to do this to, like, to get any sort of value, right? Like, he needs to be able to play somewhat of Iyslander's game to like crawl back in. Perch Grappler just to be able to block for 2. Like usually I'm a pretty big fan of like playing Snapdragon Scalers in this matchup because like a lot of the time like sometimes you can double load and then or you load to a point to where you're like, hey, I need just like a go again here because I have like too many things in my arsenal, or like you have a Heat Seeker trigger and it's an arrow, and then you want to arsenal another arrow. Instead of like keeping it in your hand, you can like arsenal both and then keep doing everything. So here we got some Frostbite on Frostbite action though. Lexi ability flipping the red Ice Quake to try to give Iyslander a Frostbite, and then reply with the Cold Snap to give the Lexi a Frostbite. So both of them have Frostbites here. Something that's like pretty interesting. Something that is like pretty interesting here is that like if Lexi and Iyslander rotate, then like Ice is just like completely out of like the CC metagame, which would be like pretty insane because like I've been playing Flesh Blood since like Monarch. So like Monarch was like the only metagame that I've played that like didn't have ice in it for like basically the last like 2.5 years, I want to almost say, right? Like since Tales of Aria came out, and like, you know, the other 2 characters in Tales of Aria are banned until like she's the last one, and she's like pretty much for sure getting banned in like after this LL'd, right? Like not banned, but rotate out of the format, right? So it's like all the Tails are left, and then the only other one is like Iyslander. So like, I mean, it would be a crazy metagame going back to like no ice. Like the elements are basically gone in Classic Constructed, right? Like that is pretty interesting. Like I initially looking at like elements, I didn't think it was going to be like the most groundbreaking like thing in Flesh and Blood, to where they would just get like it would just be so much better that. What is actually happening? I think they have a judge call going on, but I didn't think the elements were going to be so much better than all the other classes. But like being able to have like additional like cards to play, like it's why like Shadow Runeblade is like used to be really good, because you got to play like the Runeblade and the Shadow cards versus just the Runeblade cards, and like the design space in there, and like the elements being able to do like very specific like powerful things is pretty interesting. And you know, I never really cared that like Ice was in the format. Like I know a lot of people don't like Ice specifically, but I think it's a good part of the format. Like there needs to be a Taxes deck. There needs to be like a control deck that, you know, is hindering your opponent in like multiple different ways than just like attacking and defending, right? And like Frostbites and these arcane spells really do that, right? And it's pretty interesting. I wonder what the metagame for Worlds will look like specifically, because that is something that I'm like pretty been debating in my mind, and like debating with like other people for about for like a little bit, right? Like what does a metagame look like without all these like super big powerhouses that we've been seeing for like the majority of basically Flesh and Blood, you know? Like Lexi wasn't like really good until Outsiders, but like Iyslander's been good basically since she came out. Like Only time that she wasn't good was like the very start, where like before like Iyslander was like really created. Like she had the full combo version, which I was like, you know, is like not a bad idea. It was basically just all arcane, that like more arcane builds that we see today, with like a little bit of attacks for like the mirror. But then, you know how revolutionary like Michael Hamilton was with the list. But yeah, Evan's just like full steamroll. Like, I'm actually surprised that Evan's even at 21 at this point. Like, he's basically said no blocks to like every single like attack that Richard has gone through. Like any arcane, any like physical attack has just been like, yeah, it's just been like, you can't do anything. Richard isn't stabilized at 6, but could make a little bit of it here. Like, this channel like frigid is pretty good. See if Evan has a blue here to get out of it. He does get to play, he did play premeditate like first, so if it is a little bit like, if you don't have a blue here, then you're only shooting, like if you have a blue, you're only shooting 1 arrow most likely, and if you don't have a blue, like you're just passing your turn. So looks like shoot Volt, activate Voltaire to load that. So okay, so like because he's a 3 con, he's gonna pitch 3 into it. So he does just have like triple red in his hand, and he's going to pass here. So, and then there's no use of like shooting him with Winning Moon because it just doesn't matter. Wonder if that's going to be, yeah, I don't think you arsenal that card unless it is a like a non-attack, right? Like, although you are just looking at like a Channel Lake, and your opponent does have a 3-card hand, doesn't need to play something through Channel Lake, or okay, comes in for 7. You block 2 here. This is where like it gets a little bit scary, right? Because Iyslander can like start like clawing the way back into the game. It's like 13 is like basically the number to where you can kill somebody, right? So, you know, Evan at 21, facing down 7. If he takes all 7, he goes to 14, so you're basically almost in that range, right? And like that's gonna be only blocks with 1 card actually. So like it does like seem like if he has double blue here, you can play through the entire turn. Also, neatly, like because he doesn't have Snapdragons here, right? That if that second card is also a non-attack, then okay, it's a Falcon Wing. Okay, so it is an arrow, but this is the best like arrow to see. Falcon Wing is like super impressed me by like basically every time I see it. Like, it gets you out of these sticky situations, because like if that was any other arrow, I don't think you can arsenal that card here in that specific without like Snapdragon Scalers, right? Like, you do just have to like keep that other extra arrow in hand and like hope the Iyslander, you can block it for Iyslander, right? And then now you just get to come in for like 3 go again and just have like the best of all worlds, right? Does look like he has like Blizzard and an ice card in his arsenal. So maybe you could block for 3 Blizzard and pay there. Just hope your opponent doesn't have like, then they get to shoot Endless Arrow though, so it's like if he has a blue, you know, or even double red, I think you can get out of it, right? Because like you get 2 Frostbites and you pay the 2 and double red to pitch into it. Yeah, so like I'm at 3 and 4 here and you're at 6. Like, I think this is a good middle line, right? Like, give him a Frostbite here, come in with Waning Moon for 3, like present 5, like try to chip in a little bit. Does AB1? Because here's the thing, it's like you present this arcane and then you're just like, okay, if Evan blocks any of it, like maybe like he just like doesn't want to get chipped out because like he's like decently low enough. He doesn't want to get to that threshold. He's like, if you block some of it and then you get him with the Blizzard and he doesn't have enough resources, like it's probably like best case scenario for you as well. But it does look like he has like blue yellow in hand from what I can see. Does AB1 and then AB1. This does have a Frostbite, so he still has to play through that, plus Channel Lake Frigid, right? So like, let's see, if he does get the Frostbite, let's do the Blizzard. Okay, so he has Codex plus blue, right? So if he pitches for, okay, the only thing he can do here is just play the Endless Arrow out. So if he pitches to for the Blizzard, has 1 floating, has 2 Frostbites, has to pay 3 to shoot it, so he just has like exactly 3 here. So yeah, AB1, be able to play this is like the best case scenario. If he doesn't have Blizzard, then you can play just Codex from your hand and then keep going with it. So there's no block Falcon Wing here. Yeah, go to 3. It should have 0 floating because of the channel lake. But it's like your opponent's not like, he's not keeping this channel lake unless he has like specifically like defensive reaction, and then oh my god, he did have the defensive reaction. Yeah, like defensive reaction, like pitch to peak is like the only way to keep channel out here. And I think that like is the play that you need to do. Like this game has gotten like a lot closer than you would think. Like this is how like Iyslander, you know, claws his way back in this matchup and other matchups towards like, you know, you have to like, even with Ethan's like really good start, like, oh, he doesn't keep the channel. So is the blue not an ice card? I mean, if like the blue isn't an ice card, then oh no, he needs 2. He needs 2 for channel. Never mind. Don't mind me. No, he needs 2 ice cards for channel. So it's always gonna die. Just keep the extra card. But he is like, it's like 3 to 14, right? Like he needs to be able to, he needs to live through this turn. He needs to like chip damage, go into this turn, like go into next turn, and then arsenal like a blue Emeritus, and then like hope Evan has like a quad red hand and can just cheese, right? So, but he does have, it looks like he does have like a Rain Razors in his hand. I think they were trying, yeah, he does have a Rain Razors in his hand, so this is scary, right? Like, basically if you 3-block this, you die, so it's like, but you're not really, you don't really want to double block this. If you're just in a like defensive reaction, you can take 2, like, oh man, this is a bad spot to be as Iyslander. These are always like the really weird like situations, right? And like he doesn't even have to play Rain Razors here. Like if he double blocks this, he just like loads Voltaire, and then like puts in the other arrow in his hand and shoots that other arrow for 6. Like then your opponent's like kind of priced into double blocking that one. Like, but he is looking like he's pitching this Aether Hail here. So I mean, this is like how you have to hope, right? As Iyslander, like you gotta hope that like you can get out of this. Because a play that you could see here is like if you Aether Hail Waning Moon, block with the Crown, go to 1, try to trip in that damage, then like attempt to double block the following attack. And Arsenal, that blue Emeritus that I see in Richard's hand is like a way you can win this game, right? Is like you're doing enough chip damage where Evan is going to go super low because he's trying to see what he can do. This is where it's really scary though, right? Like, do you put a 2-block plus the helmet here? And then you can just 3-block the next one? Maybe that plays around Razor's like the most efficient, right? Does get a like does pitch Codex of Frailty, which is like, oh, and he has a Blizzard. Okay, well, he's not gonna pay for it, right? Like, unless he has a blue and he has second Frostbite here. But this does lead into like, he has Rain Razors. Like he pitches the other one to play it. Okay, pitches for, like blocks for 5. Okay. Blocks for 5. I don't think getting the extra 1 damage through here is like good enough, so could just Arsenal. I think you keep the Rain Racers because it just pitches a little bit more. Man, this is like the game of inches that Iyslander has to play, right? Like this is like almost best case scenario for Iyslander here, like 3 to 9. Like you're just hoping that like maybe you can do just enough here. Like, if I saw it correctly, I think he has the blue Emeritus in his arsenal, and like that's the best case. But you know, you do see him have a blue here, so the dream isn't like super real. Is this a blue? Oh man, does he just have like full blues in his hand? Or is this the only other arrow? It does look he... Oh, I don't know. Can't see the hand from Eben here. But yeah, starting with like... This blue is like pretty rough here. I mean, you're priced into play. You're priced into like blocking here. I know he has Rain Razors in his hand from the last turn, and then he has this from Arsenal, right? So it does look like he has, you know, either Ice Vein, you know? Like, the way Richard does win this is like having Aether Ice Vein like come in for like an absurd amount. Like this series shot does present lethal, right? Like he's only seen 1 Rain Razors, so like he also has to try to play against that. He can't block a 2 on this because if Rain Razors kills him because he's at 3D. So like he has to like at least 3 block this. Like if he 3 blocks this, the Rain Razors he goes to 1, and then you're like, if he has a second arrow, like through the 2 block, that's only cost 0. Then you shoot the like you're always dead. So man, this is a rough one, and it's super hard to kill him because he's AB2 here, and then he has like 2 cards AB2 with 2 floating. Like, oh man, this is a hard place to be. So it does 3 block it, so he doesn't die to Rain Razors instantly. Just lets it go through, and then just shoots the Arsenal. Man, this is a game. This is inches right here. Does double 3 blocks. So it does do the Rain Razors here. So it loses a little bit of equity. Only does 1 damage to him instead of the 2 damage that it would have been through the Searing Shot if he Rain Razored there. But does get the Blood Rot. So that makes his opponent's turn has to be just pitched this Blood Rot. If your opponent randomly had a red card in hand, he just loses. Can't really do any damage to you either. So like you're still gonna play. Now you get to play this 2 to 9 game. Does have the 3. Just have the 3 pitch here for the Blood Rot. Now we're back to this game. 2 to 9. Iyslander just hoping that like Evan just has an awkward hand, doesn't have like 3 resources. Looks like Cold Snap. Now this is the one that you don't want to see for Iyslander here as well, because like Cold Snap allows you to just like get the additional card. You're never dying. Also makes it so like if you want to respond to this Cold Snap, like you're either responding to the Frostbite, or you have to like pay to play the Arsenal, which you're just like not going to do, because like there's no way that you can kill him with like a 4-card hand and 2 floating from this position either. So like you're really priced into like, hopefully Evan doesn't have like just the nuts 2 arrows here, like 1 for 5, 1 for 5, like you're just hoping. Double 2 block here as well. Go again on this Bolt Shot as well for 4. Yeah, it has to double block this as well. Arsenal's card. Alright. Going back at it again. Another game of inches here. Just like, man, can't do anything because of the Frostbite. Can't do anything because anything else. But, like, it is still winnable for Richard here. Like, I've been in this position as Iyslander many times versus Lexi, and you're just like, dude, if he just, like, pitches red to Voltaire to load an arrow, like, you're just like overjoyed. But like obviously we know he has the blue from Frost Hex. Comes in with another Bolt Shot for 4. Go again. It's like even more scary because you can't even double block here because he has the extra arrow in his hand, like in his arsenal. So you have to 3 block this one. Take 1. You're always dead to Rain Razors in position. Doesn't really matter. You almost might be just like 100% dead if he has any good red arrow here. Does have the Searing Shot. You have to double block this. If he doesn't have a defensive reaction, I'm pretty sure it's just over, because you have to double block this. Then he comes in with the 4 breakpoint as well. I don't know what the arsenal is. I think it's still the blue Emeritus, but oh man, this is the super awkward position here, right? Like, Yeah, it is the Blue Emeritus. I don't think you have enough damage to kill here. Because you just take, take 2, go to 7. It's the best he can do, right? Like, he just knows he's dead. Yeah, just has double 3 block in his hand, has to double block this or he dies. Then he just, like, has Endless Arrow here. Having just staring at him like, hey, yo, you dead? Oh, man. This was a good game, though. Like, it was pretty Lexi dominated at the beginning, but, like, the Iyslander did scrap his way back through, like, the mid-game, getting a whole bunch of, like, the advantage coming back, like you see how the Iyslander can just like disrupt, play this through the blizzards, right? Like all that like stuff to get it to like Evan's at 7 here. Like, well, it was like going to like 9 through like 2 to 9 on this turn, right? Like I think one of these like end game scenarios, like imagine if Evan doesn't have like he doesn't have like these overwhelming blues like at the end, like Richard could be into it. Like if he was pitching red to load a red card, like and he has just like quad red in his hand, like that's where like Iyslander can really get you, and then get you in a point where you're playing Iyslander's game and then you lose. But congrats to Evan here, he deserves it. Just came off of I believe losing in the finals of US Nationals. He's a good guy. He's like 19, I believe. Like, yeah, just good to see like these people like succeeding from like so young to this game. Like obviously he plays super well. He's a pretty renowned Lexi player at this point. This is really good to see, especially in such a technical matchup as Iyslander Lexi here. Like, this is good to see. So thank you for coming to this review and seeing it with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.